Hey guys, it's Casey and welcome back to my channel, and also welcome to what may be one of the most vulnerable and emotionally challenged videos that I have ever made. At least if you are new here. If you are a veteran on my channel, this video is probably just going to make you roll your eyes because you have definitely heard this declaration before on various occasions in various different formats. However, this time it's a little bit different. I have officially made the executive life decision to start living my life as if it is the year 3994 again. Take it in, take a second to sit with it, and let's discuss exactly why I have taken this step once again, because it is not for the first time, as some of you will know. First and foremost, I am not happy here in the modern West, which should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody. I did not choose to live here. I do not want to live here. The circumstances under which I am here are very, very dubious at the best of times. There is very little about living in the modern West for me that I find enjoyable or appealing in any way, shape, or form. And I know that this is probably the part where my regular viewers are rolling their eyes so hard that they can see their own optic nerves, because I have come on my channel before and stated that I am aware that my never ceasing complaining is not productive to my well-being or my sense of dissatisfaction, and that I'm going to take a step back and try not to complain as much as I do. And then inevitably I upload the next video and it's just a video of me sitting here complaining about the same stuff that I am always complaining about, rinse and repeat over and over and over again. But this time is going to be a little bit different. How do I know that? I don't. But I'm just kind of hoping that it will be, because this time I'm coming in with an action plan. My best friend's mother always used to say to me that when you make changes in your life, you can't just go cold turkey, because your body and your brain will reject such sudden change in the way that you do things in your routine, and it will reject it, and you're essentially just setting yourself up for failure. And so the only way to make sustainable change is to do it gradually, kind of like the frog in the boiling pot method. And so my plan is to make more gradual approaches to these changes rather than going cold turkey, which is how I've always done it in the past. So instead of just saying, okay, well, I'm immediately going to go back to living how I was living prior to my arrival in Honolulu in May 2015, which, by the way, I only remember because it just so happened to be the Met Gala the weekend that I arrived, and that was a nasty, nasty shock to my system, I can tell you that much. Dress Levesque is actually the one who pointed this out to me last week when he called me a parasite, and I've been ruminating on it for the rest of the week, and I think what he said is very, very true. As much as I hate to give him credit for anything, what he said really resonated, and like I said, I've been reflecting on it. And that is, he said that I have been in a state of chronic functional freeze since I first got here. I go through the motions of day-to-day life every single day, but mentally, I'm not all here, okay? I am completely disassociated from everything that's going on around me. And you can see that by the way that I interact with things that happen to me on a daily basis. Nothing bothers me. Absolutely nothing bothers me. You could legitimately come up and scream in my face and I would forget all about it in about 20 minutes. That is how far removed from everything around me that I am at the moment, which is kind of helpful in the environment that I work in, which, if you don't know, I am a senior consultant emergency department physician in a hospital on the edge of the Australian outback. So we deal with a lot of traumatic stuff and a lot of violence and a lot of just not great stuff. A lot of weird stuff, to be honest, in my specific hospital. Weirdness is probably worse than violence. But I don't care. My coworker back in 2021 was literally point blank range right in front of me, and I was back to work in less than 24 hours, and it had no impact on me whatsoever. I never think about it. Granted, my personal background, which is, again, if you don't know, I have survived both a civil war and a total war, so naturally I'm going to be less impacted by these sort of things than the average Joe or Jolene, but still, the point remains. But I think that skill set is related to the functional freeze thing, because there are legitimately some weeks in which I work over 100 hours in a standard week. And so in those weeks, I'm largely just eating hospital food or food from the hospital cafe, which is not good for you in any capacity. But even in weeks in which I'm not working as many hours as that, which Keeping in mind, I don't think I have ever worked less than maybe 60 hours in a week. So even in an average week, I'm working more than most people do in 2 weeks. But even then, I don't like my own cooking. Not that my cooking is bad in any way, shape, or form. It's not. I'm actually a pretty decent cook. In fact, I would go as far as to say that I am an above average chef. It's just, I don't like a lot of food, full stop. And so it's not that I won't eat what I cook, I will eat it. It's just the very thought of having to come home after a 20-hour shift and cook something and eat it and spend all this money and this time and this effort investing into something that I'm not getting any pleasure from seems like an unproductive use of time. I often joke to Nate Nash that I am the world's pickiest unpicky eater because I will eat almost anything, but I enjoy very, very little. And what I do enjoy tends to change with the weather. I can go to a restaurant one night and think it's the best thing that I've ever eaten in my entire life, and then the next day think it's absolute trash. And there's no rhyme or reason to why I think that. I just do. I don't know why. Even though it could be something that comes from a box, and so it's supposed to be super consistent, but I don't know. Sometimes I just like things and sometimes I don't. And after I don't, I tend to go after them for a very, very long time. But since I've been here in the modern West, I will say that I have discovered the joy of the chicken nugget and the joy of the French fry, and I am a big fan. Not that we didn't have chicken nuggets and French fries at home, we very much did, but they lacked that level of consistency. They were gourmet. They were made in the restaurant. You would go to the restaurant, you would order them, and they were made on site. And so, again, they changed from day to day. You never knew what you were getting. In saying that, the chicken tenders were often very, very nice. They were made with molasses, and I will have to make them sometime and show you how to do it because they were chef's kiss. Now, having been born in 3968, that just wasn't something that was possible at the time because there was no consistency in the food that you were eating from day to day. So you could say, okay, well, bread is my safe food, but you're not getting a commercially made loaf of bread. You're getting bread from a bakery that changes from day to day. Sometimes it's a little bit more sour, sometimes it's a little bit more floury or a little bit more soft or a little bit more hard. You had no control over that. And so you didn't have these safe foods that you could turn to and eat and know that they were going to taste the way that they tasted. You just ate what you were given. Bread came from the bakery except for once a week in which the government would send you a Vienna sourdough loaf. Every house got one. Milk, eggs, and sometimes apples, I think, and butter. You would get that sent by the government, but everything else you had to buy. So you would have to go to the bakery to buy your bread, and you would have to go to the butcher to buy your meat. You did go to the grocery store to buy your staples, but that was very, very different from your grocery stores in that there weren't boxes and jars everywhere. You took your own jars and your own bags, and you would scoop what you needed into the bags and into the jars, and then you would take them up and they would be weighed, and then you would pay whatever you had to pay in order to get what you wanted. So that's how groceries worked. So it just wasn't a conducive environment in order to be a picky eater because you never knew what was going to taste like what from day to day. But the reason why I'm telling you all this is that this is actually my primary concern in trying to live like it's 3,994 again. Because at the moment where I am now, I live alone. I work very, very long shifts. And as a result, 75% of my daily diet is hospital food. And if I was to make this shift into living more like I did live at home, I would have to start cooking and meal planning for myself again. And there are problems that come along with that, problems that I'm not entirely sure of how to address. Now, the obvious solution to this problem is to drag Nate Nash into this with me, but I don't want them to feel obligated to eat what I'm cooking 7 days a week. Nate, it wouldn't be so much as a problem with because Nate is a human hobbit. He can always eat. He can eat nonstop. He would eat dinner 4 times a night if you served it up to him without a complaint. It's Ash that I have concerns about because Ash has his own personal issues around food. Think of issues that are rife within the gay community and you've hit the nail on the head. And so I don't want to make him feel pressurized to eat what I'm cooking, but at the same time, I don't want him to feel like I'm excluding him if I don't feed him, but then I feed Nate. And so it's like a Sophie's Choice situation. I don't know what to do in this scenario. But even outside the food demon, there are a lot of issues that I need to aspects that I need to work through in order to make living like it's the year 3994 work for me. First and foremost, where I come from, technology, specifically digital technology, is taboo, and that's just not going to be tenable here in 2026 at all, not least of all because what they replaced digital technology with is not available here yet, and so I'm obviously not going to get rid of my refrigerator and my car and everything, my laptop, everything that I need. But I think that there are still ways in which I can work through this in order to not limit how much digital technology I'm using, because that would just be counterproductive to the life that I'm trying to live here. But find different ways of doing things. Like, I'm not going to sit here and declare that I'm never going to use social media or watch movies ever again, because that would be setting myself up for failure. That would be a lie. I would know that I'd be lying even as the words pass my lips. But what I can do is that I can put limits in place. I can say, okay, well, obviously I'm going to use social media. There's no way around using social media while I'm here in the modern West. But I can say that I'm going to not use it after 8 p.m. every single night, and I'm instead going to focus on activities that I would be doing at home. I can focus on reading books or doing craft stuff or writing or diving into religious activity or personal hygiene, which is a lot bigger of a thing at home than it is here in the modern West, I can tell you that much. So there are a lot of different things that I could be doing that I have been ignoring and rejecting and neglecting while I'm stuck in this functional freeze in 2026. And as a little end of week treat for myself, I can say that I can watch movies on a Friday and Saturday night, because that was something that we did at home. We could go to the movie theaters on Friday and Saturday nights, only Friday and Saturday nights, but I can bring that aspect of home into my life here, and that will help me in the boiling frog in the pot scenario, in which, okay, well, I'm not going to watch this movie on a Tuesday night, I will save it for Friday night, and then on Friday night, me, Nate, and Nash, we can sit down, we can watch this movie, and we can have a better time, and I might even enjoy it more if it's something that I only do once or twice a week. Obviously, I'm going to have to drive my car somehow, because unlike home, I do not live in a walkable city here, where at home, the idea was that everything that you needed was in a few blocks radius, so you didn't need cars. Nobody had cars. You only saw cars at festivals and parades. Nobody had a car. There was trains, there was trams, there was horseback, and there was walking and bikes. I guess technically there was bikes. It's not possible where I live because, one, food is different. So you go to the grocery store, you're not just carrying jars and light bags of stuff. You're carrying huge giant bottles, you're carrying giant packages. All of that needs to go in the car. I cannot carry that much home, not least of all because, again, I have a traumatic brain injury and I do not have the greatest bilateral coordination with my hands. I've spoken about that before. It's just not going to happen. However, what is possible is that I live pretty close to the center of my town, within easy walking distance. So I can say, okay, I will drive my car when I go to get groceries, or I'm going to drive my car when I go to work because my work's a little bit outside of town and my town is in no way and no how safe to be walking, even in daylight, let alone at nighttime. And if I'm working night shift, I don't start until like 11:30 at night. So there's no way that I'm walking all the way to my work from where I live. But what I can do is that if I'm just heading down to town to get a drink or something like that, then I can start walking that. And in that way, little bit at a time, you can start cutting back technology use, digital technology use. It's never going to be what it is at home, but I can cut it out in those small little ways. Night routines, morning routines, hygiene routines, because like I said, hygiene is a lot more important at home than it is here. I'm going to have to figure all that out. I haven't sat down and looked at it yet because the routines that I have at home are not going to be translated very well into the life they live here. But there are things that I can take from those routines that I had and apply them to the life that I'm living here. But I need to sit down and I need to figure that out. And lastly is religion. So if you don't know, the religion that I grew up in is one that worships the moon, the stars, and the sun, overseen by an ultimate creator. So even if, like me, you're not too deep into the mythos of the religion, you can still really participate really well in the religious practice itself, because even scientific, even if you're a complete atheist, there is no denying that the moon, the stars, and the sun are the overseers of life on Earth. They are the creators of life on Earth. They oversee the patterns and the systems that keep life on Earth rolling and everything like that. So I can dive a bit more deep into that. I've said that I wanted to do that before. I've sat down, I've showed the religious text, I've done everything like that. So I'm not going to go too deep into that in this video, but that's something that I've said before, and it's probably one of those things that everyone who's watched my videos are rolling their eyes at. I am going to try again to get more into it and dive deeper into it. But again, it's a lot of changes. I don't know how this is going to go. But next week is Nate's birthday on the 2nd of April. And so I'm going to make him the birthday cake that I made for my daughter every single year for her birthday until, she was 11. And then we, as I've said, we parted ways when she was 11. And so obviously I stopped making the birthday cake then. But I'm going to make it for Nate for his birthday. And I'm going to make a video of it because it's a cake that I've never seen anyone here make. It's such a good cake. It's a bit of a complicated cake. I'm a bit worried about making it because I don't eat cake. I don't like cake. Like I said, I'm a picky eater. I'm the picky, unpicky eater. But I'm going to make it. I'm going to see how it goes and how it turns out and hope that I remember the measurements of it. I have not made a cake since Ash graduated, and I made him a graduation cake, which is also a cake that I should make sooner rather than later. Not that I have a graduation anytime soon in which to celebrate. I got new medical students last month, and they're all idiots, and I don't like any of them. But yeah, that's all I've got to say for tonight. As always, this is Casey signing off. Stay weird out there, stay safe, and have a productive evening. Good night. I'm gonna go get some chicken nuggets because why not? Why not?